The Bitcoin bull market is sadly over. Just kidding. We're spilling off a little bit. Why? We have some answers for you. And also, when is Bitcoin going to rebound? We got Magic Internet Money joining us to go over some charts and to go over some price targets for BTC. Also, we did put in an Ethereum trade. We're going to share that with you. Some macroeconomic things happening and how that could potentially affect Bitcoin and the halving. We have so much to talk about. Let's get right into it.
Hola! It's your boy Big Rob back in the house. Welcome to Sin City Crypto. If it's your first time checking us out, we're the entertainment-focused cryptocurrency channel. We take old, boring, and, well, stale information and repackage that thing up in a fun and sexy Sin City Crypto kind of way. Man, Bitcoin sold off.
Wow.
Markets are down. Bitcoin is done.
Wow.
It's dead.
It's not dead. Let's bring on our friend Magic Internet Money. Let's just bring him up, man. It's an important day today. Magic, is the bull market over?
It's too late for an April Fool's joke, so, but no, yeah.
You know, Magic, before we jump into the chart, I do want to share this news article here. So Bitcoin is bleeding. Why it's dropped below 65,000. So it's currently trading above 65, but at the time of this release, it was trading under 65. So Bitcoin experienced a sharp decline on Tuesday morning following nearly a month of upward movement. The stock market also opened poorly, with the Dow dropping 450 points, and the cryptocurrency market is following the same trend. We take a look at what the stock market is doing. I'm going to refresh the page here from CNBC. You can see everything's red today, right? With the exception of China and Japan, right? They're in the green. So Dow down 470 points, NASDAQ down 180 points, S&P down 46.5 points. Going back to the article here, it also discusses $213.85 million worth of liquidations just from Binance alone, and also outflows from the Bitcoin ETF. We'll go over that here in a little bit, but Magic, what are you seeing on the BTC chart? Are we looking at, like, have we bottomed on a shorter time frame, or do you still think there's more downside to go?
I think statistically speaking, it's more probable we head just a little bit lower still, but you are getting close to support, in my opinion. So this isn't a place that you should get cute and be like, I'm going to sell my bags and try to buy back lower. I think that range trade idea has now missed you. So being patient, if you're looking to add new positions, is probably the name of the game. But yeah, you are getting into support right now. For me, it's the same idea we kind of covered last week. If you guys, remember, we talked about similarities between the halvings, believe it or not, are there. And what I mean by that is we had a setup for a short, if you recall. This was the setup looking to short the completion of this. It hit within about, an hour or two of when we expected it to. And you've gotten your sell-off ever since. Very, very, very similar, and a long scroll here all the way back to the last halving. Very, very similar to what you had done back here. And so this is something that we've actually been covering inside of the Discord and even publicly, that, this is a very similar move where you've had this really, really, I wouldn't say disbelief style rally, but this was very disbelief. A lot of people thought this was going to continue to pull back after the Corona dump. You came up and you've now hit major macro resistance. In this case, it was only 10,000 to 10,500, not a new all-time high, but the timing of it being the halving was, I believe it was May 11th, had come up, and you had made this giant range at resistance before eventually breaking out. So when you look at something like that and you now price that up against what we're doing, again, the halving and time in cycles is still good. Even though we're at an all-time high in this case, the same idea applies, where we look at this in from the lens of, I hate fractals, but the idea here is very similar, where you've now come up and you can kind of see how these are starting to line up very well. You've come up, you've made your high, you've made your dip, your range low, come back to the highs without making a new one. You remain range bound while making higher lows before eventually making your next run. But this triangle that did form here took like 120 days.
Jesus.
I'm not necessarily calling for that on this price action. Nobody wants to sit in that range for 120 days. But
bro, you telling me you telling me for 4 months we're gonna sit here and just go from 65 to 72?
I did mention yesterday on our show that I still lay 50% more if I, had to put percentage on it. 50%. My sentiment is that more than likely we're going to have a $90,000 Bitcoin within the next few months. But, part of me is thinking that post halving, historically, you're not seeing these massive parabolic run ups until later, months later, 4, 5, 6 months later, post halving. So, are we going to see $90,000 Bitcoin in September, October, November? Something I've been thinking about. I think it's a little bit more likely. I think some of the steam is rolling out of Bitcoin's ETF right now. I'm not saying that it's gonna like tank by any means, but I do foresee in a situation where maybe we have a long consolidation before we take the next leg up.
Yeah, I agree. The consolidation, it's at resistance as well. So to me, it's one of those things where this thing has just been ripping and ripping and ripping. It does stand to make sense that eventually you're going to have a pullback and just consolidate. Even right here, back in December, if you recall, you got, what is this, like 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks of consolidation here before this move. So sometimes that's what has to take place. The other thing I would look at is timing, again, kind of called for this pullback. When you're measuring your reversal pattern, and it does start from the Corona dump in this case on this harmonic, what I'm looking to do is get timing from both the impulses to see, is the harmonics, does it have symmetry? Is it equidistant? And then from there, I want to know what the distribution of this pattern is from the full length of its life, meaning that how long did it take for me to start at X here and complete this pattern at D? And if you look at that, this is the 50% mark, essentially implying that this would be an area of interest. And if you're curious about how you could track trend, there's a book out there. I need to find it on my old hard drive and re-upload it to Discord. It's called Fibonacci Pitchforks and Median Line Symmetry. Really nice old school book if you're into old school charting like I am, and essentially implying that we're going to use something like this to project a trend-based channel that if price was to continue in the same trajectory that it's going, this would be the time frame and how we would calculate that. And so this would actually be exactly how I'd done that. I just used the pitchfork off of this macro pattern, just using the pivot points of that, using the same pivot points for time, and you have nice confluence that, yeah, you're going to get a little bit of a pullback here. And you can still utilize something like this on a very basic level just to say this might be a de-risking area. 73K was also a big level just from, Fibonacci pulling in terms of trend-based fibs. So yeah, a pullback here stands to make sense. And you could even utilize this and say that I would say 57K here becomes pretty crucial. It's part of the reason why I started talking about the idea that, maybe we have a little bit more of a dip here. So on the weekly time frame, this is where I would start. Obviously, the monthly and quarterly just ended. But if you're looking at this from a monthly standpoint, again, 62K was kind of that level we talked about previously, where we needed to see that level hold. Oh, there we go. We'll do something like this, right? So still have quite a bit of room down into this region, but that's on like a monthly closure. So if we're looking at things from like a weekly time frame, because we want to get a little bit better of an idea, you really had two levels that you could have worked off of here. And the first one is going to be this weekly closure. I usually call these breaker levels or SFPs, however you want to label them in your mind. But this weekly SFP level is about where you're at. And the reason it's so important is that when we got this really nice bullish hammer candle right here, this is the low that was swung fail and where price started to settle up and traders started defending. So everyone, that entered down here is in profit. Everybody that sold their positions down here obviously had a bad time for the last couple of weeks. So this will be a key area on the chart for me. Now it does line up with other ideas. We're not just solely going off of that. When you got to like a 4 hour, you can kind of see it a little bit better. Really nice respect of the line here. You now have the ability to start adding confluence on why we could be getting a bounce here. And you'll see that it is your local gold pocket. And I track ranges based on time and market structure, if you guys recall. So March's range was pretty cut and dry here. It is the March value area low. However, I would start extending this over. I've mentioned Bob Lucas before on your guys' show. I always try to be inspired by other traders that I think have done well over the years. And he does a 60-day cycle for Bitcoin in terms of highs and lows. So for me, I do track the 60-day cycles, meaning I track January to February, then I will track March to April. So March will continue on, and it gets this overall structure pretty well. So you are pretty much range bound up here. And just like we spoke about earlier with the idea of potentially, having that short and remaining range bound, it leads into the idea that we're forming a higher low potentially and just consolidating in some form of either a triangle or reaccumulation pattern over time. That all kind of gets thrown out the window after these lows are taken. That's the only thing you really have to keep in mind. And so the quarterly pivot is down here. These do hit at a 70+% rate. We did miss the last one. So we rarely miss 2 in a row, just so everybody's aware. So the idea that we could still come a little bit lower, like the 61K region, it's on the table. And then in terms of just looking at expansion rates of, the prior month and or prior quarter, another really important thing to do. So I track things based on closures to create levels for the entire year. I've mentioned that before. I do it for the quarter and the monthly as well. So this would be for March right here. And this is the end of March. All these levels are set in stone through the end of April. And essentially, this is your zero line starting out where the volume weighted average price closed for that month. And now we're looking to run, essentially deviations to the upside and downside. And you can see you're at your -1 now. So loss of this puts you where? Right at the quarterly pivot. So really, really nice confluence with the levels. And so I would tell people that if you're watching this and you're worried or concerned, I really wouldn't get concerned until we start breaking all the way below these levels here. And you may dip below 59K, take some lows and get an SFP. But if you lose these levels, then we could start opening that door up and saying, are we going to 50K? That's realistically where you're at. So as a really general number, I would say $60,000 needs to be held. 62 on a monthly closure would be great. That would give me a lot more confidence if we are still closing above $62,000. But yeah, I wouldn't panic. This is all just kind of a nice range trade. As I said, this is a good place to look for support. It may dip a little bit lower. Statistically speaking, it says we will probably tag this, but we don't have to. So, take that with a grain of salt and don't be afraid to trade up here. You just don't do anything foolish, I guess, would be the way I'd put it.
Yeah, like trade 100x leveraging and liquidate it, David. So, Magic, thank you for that TA, by the way. That was great, man. Guys, if you want more Magic, I would definitely recommend jumping into his Discord. I'm in there. Rocco's going to prompt that up there. So we'll drop the link in the chat. But, you mentioned 60K. I think 60K is a very important level psychologically as well. Bitcoin has spent so much time above 60K that, you spend some time at 70, 71, 72, 60 all of a sudden. 6 months ago would be, oh my God, 60K, that's a lot. Now it's like, damn, it's a bargain because we've seen it go up to 74, right? So I think there's a psychological aspect to that as well. But I'm happy you zoom out on your charts because I think people need to understand when you zoom out and you look at, and I did this on the show yesterday, when you zoom out and look on the longer time frames, the Bitcoin chart still looks very bullish. It's just people get caught up in the sentiment of, oh my God, we're crashing, or, I got liquidated on my positions or whatever the case may be. So.
Yeah, no, you are correct. It's insanely bullish. It's literally the best chart of all time outside of maybe Hershey's and Cocoa.
Cocoa is exploding. You guys
yeah,
saw that?
Diabetes is undefeated, Yeah.
No wonder chocolate was so expensive. I was trying to buy a Feastables bar. It was super expensive. Magic, we love having you on, man. Thank you so much again, brother. We appreciate you. And we look forward to bringing you on again next week.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me. Take
care, brother. All right. I do want to share some other insight here as to why is Bitcoin dumping? Well, it isn't Uncle Sam and the U.S. government. They have just moved 30,000 Bitcoin from the Silk Road hack worth around $2 billion, and they've moved that to Coinbase. This is not good timing because, yesterday we saw net outflows for the first time in a few days. $85.8 million in net outflows as we saw Grayscale ramp it up again. $302 million flowed out of Grayscale. $165.9 million flowed into BlackRock. $44 million flowed into Fidelity. And the rest are null and void, right? 1.1, 0, 0, 0, 2, and 4. So, is this thing slowing down? I don't think so. It's just damn Grayscale, man. They just won't budge off their 1.5%. But again, if you take Max Payne scenario, right? Max Payne, Grayscale continues their massive sell-offs until their Bitcoins are completely depleted. The U.S. government decides to sell this. And let me tell you something. This is probably not hitting the order books. This is probably being bought over the counter from Coinbase. And guess what? It's just going to get sold over the counter right back to companies like BlackRock and Fidelity. But still.
You don't think Jerome Powell's over there selling each Bitcoin one by one on a centralized exchange?
He's DCAing on Jupiter.
Yeah, okay.
We also have this. So liquidation, something to keep an eye on. We did see around 100, we'll call it $91 million in liquidations as the price of Bitcoin got down to 64.5. We have some more big liquidations around 88.8 million, right around 64.1, which we haven't gotten there yet. Could we potentially get up there? Maybe. And these are going to be long positions that will get liquidated. And then on the other side, 66.7 should bring around 73.6 million in potential short liquidations. And then every short gets liquidated above 74K. So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. And then we have this as well. So this is from Rec Capital. The Bitcoin danger zone is where pre-halving retraces tend to begin. A pre-halving retrace of around 18% has already transpired. As a result, the danger zone has fulfilled its main purpose, beginning a pre-halving retrace. That said, time-wise, the danger zone will end once the halving has occurred. As a result, during this time window, we could still expect all kinds of volatility. The goal for this phase is to establish a concrete bottom that will form the range low of the reaccumulation phase. And this is a chart going back to 2020. You can see here on this side, 2020, what happened. Now in the red box is your pre-halving retrace. And so that's where we are now. You know, we talk about this time is different. What Magic just showed you with the fractal going back to the last cycle, the only difference is we've made an all-time high just barely before the halving. Everything else is kind of playing out like it used to, which if it continues, should see an all-time high towards September, October of next year. Is that likely? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? You think that's possible there?
You said new all-time high September, October
of next year, 2025.
So you don't.
Look, sorry, not new all-time high. The top.
Top. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
I
misspoke.
I think the top. I think the top's coming earlier, and I think the top comes earlier, and I think the spill off is less dramatic than it has been in times of past, and so I think early next year will be the top, and then I think we spill off and then just consolidate for a while. I mean, where do you think? Are you? I know you asked me that question, but is that what you believe, that we'll get a top late next year, late next year, or do you think it comes earlier?
I think it'll. My case for Bitcoin is like 300 to 400K, right?
But when's that come?
March, April of next year, about a year after the halving. And also, you got to remember, the election is this year, so we should see a lot of volatility. The Fed's actually speaking tomorrow. There's a bunch of Fed people speaking this week, and so it's part of the reason why the markets are selling off, because everyone's trying to figure out, what is Jerome Powell going to say? Is he going to reinforce the fact that we're going to see 3 rate cuts? We know the macro. I'll just go ahead and share this article here. Where'd it go?
And then I'm also curious, do you think that the markets are going to spill off into a bear market in a similar way that we've seen before? Where
I think it'll be a lot less.
60%.
You have a lot more buyers. I think you have a lot more buyers than last cycle. So I think those dips are going to get eaten up a lot faster. But could we see are we going to see more scams and maybe another exchange go under? Probably. A big protocol go under? Probably, right? If history repeats itself, or at least rhymes. But then you look at what other things affect Bitcoin, especially when you talk about the ETFs. And well, who is investing in ETFs? It's your average investor right now, but it will also be your pensions, your hedge funds, your sovereign funds. So
what is California doing?
So it's funny because the job numbers come out every month, but 3 months later, those same job numbers get revised down. And so when it first gets released, everyone's like, oh my God, the economy is so strong. No one's getting laid off. A million jobs have been created. And like, oh, actually, only like 50,000 jobs.
So what they did was, I'm just on this headline here with California. So $20 minimum wage for fast food workers, massive layoffs from McDonald's and other fast food chains. And I mean, they're supposed to spur more business, right, in fast food. That was the idea, more productivity. But they just literally just trim the fat. Now all of a sudden, you're gonna have more of the screens that you pay for, and you've seen those at McDonald's. Each screen represents what could potentially be an employee, and at $20 an hour, I mean, do the math. Over the course of a year, full-time employee, you're gonna just start cutting those positions. And the Big Mac meal in California is priced at $18.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, they have to cover costs, right? It's at the end of the day, it's a business. So if you
think the companies are going to take the extra expense of the labor and just, hey, we'll just take it out of our profits or our CEO pay or our stuff. Yeah. Try again. No, they're just going to raise prices. So the extra money you're making, you're not going to have to spend because everything got more expensive.
Would you completely write off the Big Mac? Are you a fan of Big Macs?
I like Big Mac.
Okay. Would you completely just write off Big Macs and say,
I
never
can't do it.
You're not going to buy Big Macs?
I can't. I know I can't write them off.
Okay. So you're okay taking the sting. Maybe you don't get quite as many frequencies Big Mac orders as normal, but you're definitely going to dish out the $18?
Sometimes you have to, man. That's
Okay.
life. If you can't change what these companies and governments doing, make more money. I know it sounds simple, but that you can either cut back on your expenses and cut back on your way of living or make more money.
You in the chat. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. Would you pay $20 for a Big Mac?
The meal comes with fries and a Coke.
Meal and a drink, medium soda, medium fry. Would you pay $20 for your Big Mac meal? Put a 1 in the chat if that's a yes. I sure would. Give me 3 buns with 2 pieces of meat. Also, put a 2 in the chat if $20 well spent elsewhere. Thank you.
I already put one.
Are you okay?
You a fan of the Big Mac meal, Rocco?
He's a fan of the Big Italian, huh?
No, absolutely not. Not Big Mac. Probably I ate it once 25 years ago. That's it.
Wow.
It's a good sandwich. It's a good sandwich. I wouldn't recommend eating it on the regular like David, but try it out every once in a while.
Cool, man.
Yeah, I can see the result.
Yeah. Oh, you guys want to go down that road, huh? Okay. Bitcoin sees 1.2 billion in outflows from their exchange of BTC, which is around 17,000 Bitcoins. Generally, holders take coins off to self-custody when they plan to hold for extended periods. So this trend can be a sign that long-term accumulation is happening in the market. So just some thought here. But hey, it looks like we might be getting $2 billion worth of Bitcoin flowing in from the U.S. government. Thank you, U.S. government. Before we move forward, I would like to give a big thank you to our channel sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by Decrypted.tax. We always talk about how much money we make, but we never talk about how much of that money we get to keep, especially if in the United States. Every year you either get some money back from Uncle Sam, or if you make too much money, you got to cut a check. If you do have to cut a check, you want to make sure it's the smallest check possible. How do you do that? Get a good tax person, and Decrypted.tax are those tax people. Use the link in the description, go to their website, set up a free consultation, and get all your questions answered. So with that being said, I'm going to send it over to Robin. Look at the markets.
What's your neck, bro? Bitcoin,
Big Mac.
$65,500. 87 cents. There you go. Now, we've seen this big sell-off. I was just hanging out yesterday. My son was getting a haircut, and I'm just over here on the phone, and then boom! It goes from 68.5 to 66,000, literally in one fell swoop here.
Wait, what did it go? How did it go?
It collapsed, bro.
No.
Yeah, just
Boom.
yeah,
It was a
kind of like
boom.
your neck, bro. All right, so you see here is that on the chart here yesterday, 7 p.m. Vegas time, We went from 69,000, dropped all the way down to 66.5. More than likely, we saw just cascading liquidations from leveraged plays.
We did.
And
Not more than likely we did.
yeah. Well, I mean, there was other factors at play here, but that was the driving force that hammered this down, and it never rebounded. And we've been hanging out at 66,000. That was lost. We seem to have found support right at 65 flat. You can see here that we did trade briefly at 64.8, but realistically, we're using 65,000 as support. Big psychological number, so no surprise there. With that said, most of the altcoin market is in the red. There are a couple players in the green here. You got Athena, familiar with this one. Bittensor. Now, Bittensor. Bittensor.
Sounds like a dinosaur.
Tau, okay? Tau. T-A-W, okay?
T-A-O.
T-A-O. W-O. Whatever, however you want to do it. New AI project. Not new. It's been around for just a little bit, but caught a lot of traction, a lot of movement lately. Bittensor. We're doing a video on that.
Have you seen the Bittensor dinosaur from the Mesopotamic era?
Video coming out today. If you're a fan of AI projects, if you're a fan of Render and a few others, take a look at this one. Moving up the charts quite fast.
One of the only ones in the green.
Yeah, up 10% on the 24 hours. But I mean, look at the 1 year chart here. It went from $40 back in October to well over 500, and I had a little pullback here more recently, and so in the last 30 days, you see that it's down from where it was. So perhaps it's gaining momentum again for the next move up. Something we're keeping an eye out on. So fan of that, go check it out. But also. Some other movers, Litecoin up 8%. Did you DCA, David, into your Litecoin position?
I sold my house for the Litecoin.
Okay, good for you. Now, BitGet, Token, Flare, and Mantle kind of round out the gainers for the day, but not much. Only 4 projects up more than 5%. And then if you take a look at the biggest losers, there is a lot of red. So a good majority of the market is red today. A lot of it being over 5%. Kava, Aptos, Floki, Bonk. The meme coins have really took a hit lately. A lot of those are overbought, so not surprised here. But I mean, if you look at the 1 week too, you'll see this is really dominated here by the Beam, Aptos down over 20% on the week. And then I guess I thought the meme coins are down a little bit more on the week, but they are down on the day. So if you're a fan of Floki, Bonk, and Dogecoin, all down over 7%. So there you go.
Memes, obviously, you do reap the big benefits of when these things absolutely start to rally. But when everything spills off, 20, 30, 40% drawbacks are completely normal. So just know that it's not just rainbows and butterflies. I do want to share a Ethereum chart. Ethereum hasn't really been performing well. I'm taking a look at ETH on the 1 hour. So a couple of bullish things are happening. One, we've been oversold on ETH for a little bit of time. We did get on the matrix oscillator here from Luxalgo. We did get we got actually a double buy signal. Now, of course, these signals, you don't ever want to blindly trade on them, but it gives you some confluence in when you start to really look at the structure of the chart and kind of maybe push you over the edge as far as, hey, should I enter a long, a short? But we actually entered into a long position here on BingX. We did a 8x long position, and our open was $3,257 with a liquidation price at $28.92. This is the big reason here was this discount zone that we dipped into, right? It was just a straight spill off. We blew right through the gap here, which was the higher end 34.76, lower end 33.87. Completely blew through that, came back, got rejected towards the bottom end, and then spilled off into our discount zone. And this did wick all the way down to 32.16, although we were not able to catch the complete bottom. We did enter into our long position when we saw the subsequent candle open and is closed above the wick of the last candle, right? So the price of the candle an hour ago where we entered right here, the body, it closed above the wick of the previous candle, right, to the upside. So that is a bullish indicator. We enter the trade. What we're looking at is we're looking to maybe get rejected right around 34.23. So those are some levels that we're keeping an eye on as far as when to exit and take profit from our trade. But ETH, I'm going to pull up ETH versus Bitcoin and just take a look. I mean, for the longest time, ETH against BTC was not performing well. We zoom out to the daily, just another spill off. I mean,
do you see a scenario right now in the next 3 months where you would want to have position on Ethereum? I mean, you have the potential ETF approval coming up next month.
it's so hard for me to say this, but I don't think it's going to get approved, man.
You think
I
they'll
know.
deny
You
the
think
BlackRock?
BlackRock? I know. I kind of do.
You kind of.
I know it's against popular opinion, and it's against statistics. But I don't know. Unless we hear something different from the Bloomberg guys or from just maybe Gary Gensler or someone makes a comment from the SEC. But as this stands right now, I mean, the Coinbase asked the judge to dismiss the SEC's lawsuit. The judge said no. And a lot of that has to do with staking. And guess what, Robin? A majority of these ETF filers for Ethereum have added staking into their application. And so why would the SEC approve an application unless they go in and say remove staking, and then maybe if those conversations happen, I'll change my thought. But as of right now, it just logically does not make sense to me. It's kind of the boat I'm in.
I'm just.
Don't you agree?
My thing is that BlackRock is building out the tokenization business on Ethereum with the ETF application. I feel like it all kind of crumbles if the ETF gets denied, right? Because they have to come out with a rhyme or reason. And the rhyme or reason is going to contradict, a publicly traded company like BlackRock. And so I'm just not sure, man. I think it's still going to pass. I think this is one of the ones that are flying under the radar. I think that so many people wanted the Bitcoin one to pass, and there was so much buzz and euphoria to it. The writing was on the wall. I think at this point, the situation at hand is the same, right? You have a product that is offered as a future-based ETF, and there is no spot ETF available. And that was the reason why Bitcoin got approved. Gary Gensler did not like Bitcoin. He didn't even want to approve it. And in his approval letter on his press release, Gary Gensler even came out and said, look, we were forced to do this. We didn't want to, right? We proceed with caution, fraud, scams, money laundering. The list goes on and on. He included all of that in his press release. So it wasn't like he came around to Bitcoin. So the fact that Gary Gensler doesn't like Ethereum, the fact that the SEC isn't pro Ethereum, I think is going to end up being the exact same scenario. They're going to be forced to approve it because there's a future-based product in the same way that there was for Bitcoin.
Well, let me ask you this question. What if the SEC comes out prior to that May deadline and they come out and they classify ETH as a security? Larry Fink has said he still thinks if that happens, he still thinks an Ethereum ETF is possible.
But why? If they classified it as a security, then that is also, they're not going to just come out and make a press release and be like, hey guys, we think it's this, right? So they'll have to bring up charges for the sale of a security to the Ethereum Foundation or Vitalik or the founding members. And it would be a very complicated process. And, they're already kind of going through that with
hire new
Labs.
people, Robin.
I'm not saying they wouldn't. I'm not saying it's out of the realm of possibility, but it just seems like they already have the same case style going, right? They have the same, hey, it's a security going on Ripple, and they see that the token itself wasn't deemed a security. And XRP, I think XRP, if you were to say, hey, Ethereum or XRP, which one is more likened to a security? I mean, I don't think XRP is a security, but if you had to point a gun in my head and say, hey, look, which one do you think is more of a security? I would say more like XRP, right? And it's just because Ethereum has been around for so long. It's sufficiently decentralized. It's actually used as fuel, or the tokens used to power the network as fuel to move value from smart contracts. It's not a security. At least it's not a security more than XRP. And there was a court case where, Judge Torres came out and said, hey, the token's not a security. So how the hell could the SEC make a case for the ETH security? So I don't see it. I don't believe it, man. So if the SEC can't say it, if they're not going to sue Ethereum, so at that point,
they got no problem suing people, Robin.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that, like, they can't even win against XRP. What chance do they have at making making ETH a security or labeling it and going through the process of suing it? They don't just slap a label. It's not like they have a board behind them. They're like, hey, this one here. No, they have to sue the Ethereum Foundation or the founders.
Let me ask you this question, Rob. When did XRP get sued? When Jay Clayton had 2 weeks left. Everyone's assuming even if Biden gets reelected, there's going to be a new SEC chair. And of course, if Biden doesn't get reelected, we're definitely going to see a new SEC chair. Can we see a similar scenario? And I know we're kind of playing hypotheticals here, to where on his way out, Gary gives us one last middle finger and throws the entire cryptocurrency market into a frenzy. Because if ETH gets labeled a security, we're going to assume everything else is going to get labeled a security, at least anything that's not a proof of work coin that didn't have an ICO. I don't know. Could we see it? Maybe. Would it surprise me? Absolutely not. That's just who Gary Gensler is. But it's something that
it genuinely would surprise me. And I know that it happened before, but the thing was when that lawsuit came out, there wasn't smart contracts the way there is now. No, in the XRP token wasn't. XRP, when it got sued, did not have the use case and utility that Ethereum has at this moment, right? Ethereum, it's clearly used to power the network, right? I mean, how much Ethereum have you purchased to do something on the network? I mean, just think about it. In the last 1 year, how much Ethereum have you purchased, David? Or how many times have you purchased Ethereum to operate the network?
Over the last 6 months, I have not bought any Ethereum that has not been used in the ecosystem. So over the last 6 months, whatever Ethereum I have bought has been used to pay gas fees.
Exactly. Then a security is a share, or it's a
expectation to make a profit.
Yeah, it's an expectation. Basically, you're buying it to speculate on the price. And sure, that is done in some part or portion of the sales of Ethereum. But realistically, Ethereum powers a network. Just like you have bought Ethereum multiple times throughout the last 6 months for exactly that, to power the network. You're not buying it to make a profit. You're not buying Ethereum and being like, you haven't told me in the last 6 months, hey man, I bought 5 Ethereum. I think the price is going to go up. I'm holding on to this thing. No, you bought Ethereum in the last 6 months to do something with it. And the thing is when XRP got sued, how many people were using XRP to do something on the network? Let me ask you. At that point in time, there really is not smart contracts, not in the way. I know that there are smart contracts in the ecosystem,
Robin,
but
I completely agree with you. I agree with your logic. I think the logic is very sound, but you got to remember who you're dealing with here, bro. You're dealing with Gary Gensler. The dude just has been throwing lawsuits at the wall and hoping one sticks. He got outed by a judge for lying, essentially. They had to throw that case out. Lost the XRP case, 90% of it. The Coinbase case, the wallet portion of it, got dismissed. So the dude's taking L's. I'm just saying, I agree with your logic. I agree with what you're saying. But it would not surprise me as Gary's last middle finger to our industry on his way out decides to throw a lawsuit at the Ethereum Foundation.
But I see what you're saying, but if there was no XRP lawsuit, then that would make sense, right? I'm just saying that you can't go up against another chain and have the same exact lawsuit. XRP is not a security. A judge said it. And ETH is way more use case and utility than XRP is, the token. So with that said, there's no chance. There's no chance. I know what you're saying. You don't know. The SEC can go after anybody, but for that reason, maybe they go after Ethereum for something else. Maybe they go after them for sale of security or insider trade. I don't know. Maybe they do something different or fraud or whatever. But to classify ETH as a security is not going to happen. There's no chance. In the same way they knew they couldn't do that to Bitcoin, they just threw up their hands. They wouldn't say it was a commodity, but they threw up their hands like, I don't. Remember, he was testifying. He wouldn't even clarify that Bitcoin's not a security. He was just like, well, my opinion is, and they were like, I'm asking you a question. Is Bitcoin a commodity? And he wouldn't even answer that. And so the same will be said for Ethereum. They don't want to agree, but they know damn well that thing is not a security. They know it. They know it in their soul.
Doesn't mean they won't try to do some shady stuff. I'll tell you that. It's a good conversation. It's very interesting. I'm more of a. I just wouldn't be surprised. The dude literally lied in court. They fabricated information to try to bring a crypto company down, and they got called out on it. So I'm saying there's a lame duck sitting there as the chair of the SEC, obviously hates our space. Somebody must have like laughed and pointed at him when he was giving the MIT lectures, right? What, like 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, where he was so bullish on crypto and Bitcoin and technology and this and that. Just a complete 180. With that being said, I'm going to throw it over.
Yeah, I do want to give a little love real quick to the chat. If you are new here, say hello. We'll drop an hola back at you. We have Pabs B, DJ Flexa, Loop Papa, Reb Parker, Crypto Wanderer, Space Ape, Dr. Payne, $0, Martin Kelly, Scott Robinson, Crypto Hound, K Apton, Truck Dano, and then we got XR Pete and username to all of you. Hola! Welcome to Sin City Crypto. Also, we haven't done it in a while. Let's get a sign in. There it is. Get an Ola train going. So we got almost 600 people in here, 200 plus likes. So pretty good turnout. Decent like ratio. Could be a little better on the likes, but do us a favor. Type Ola in the chat. Let's spam the chat. Let's get this thing going. Want to get an Ola party, Ola train. So let's see if we can get a couple hundred Olas typed into the chat. There you go.
Also, saw a lot of people coming in from Blockchain Basement. If you're here from the Blockchain Basement, say hello and welcome. I do want to share, college basketball, Robin, March Madness. Well, it was March Madness for the ETFs. It's from Eric Balkunas, the senior ETF analyst at Bloomberg. Bitcoin ETFs traded, listen to this, $111 billion in March, which is just about triple what they did in February and January. I added the months where only GBTC was on the market for further context. I can imagine April will be bigger, but who knows? So to all the people that say the ETF is slowly dying and waning away, I show you that that is not true. April should see an increase. I do want to share this. This is from Andrew. AP Abacus tweeted this. Sources saying that Bitcoin ETFs will be added to the UBS platform next week. Why is this important? UBS manages $3.5 trillion in global wealth. Morgan Stanley is already making its way into offering the ETFs. We have a lot of the, and I think with the quarter ending, we should start seeing some financial statements come out, and we will. I guarantee you, we'll hear one or two big names, maybe governments, maybe pension funds, maybe whoever that were buying Bitcoin when the ETF went live, as those documents are made available and published to the public because they're publicly traded companies, then we're going to see one or two that are really going to surprise you. And then we're also going to see the hyper Bitcoinization, the mass adoption of these other hedge funds, these other wealth funds, these sovereign funds, pensions, 401ks, all the people that are not yet in the Bitcoin ETF as the halving draws near. And then as, of course, eventually Grayscale selling will completely stop. Everyone's worried about the government selling, but I don't know. I think there's enough demand to kind of siphon that away. Any thoughts on this right here?
Grayscale, stop selling. Cut it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what he said.
You like that take?
I love it. Let's talk about Cardano. Charles Hoskinson dispels myths surrounding Cardano in a community address. So he addresses the Cardano congestion concerns.
Oh yeah, I saw that today.
Interweaving issues on the network congestion and users having queries about the platform scalability and efficiency. Charles actually seemed optimistic about the matter. Said Cardano would not get more expensive when it is congested like it is in other cases because of failed transactions and increased fees. So that does not happen on the Cardano network. He also advocated for ecosystem growth and seamless interoperability. He stressed that it is hard to adopt a project that is not commensurate with the blockchain and disagrees that financial backing is a determiner of success of a blockchain project. You know, a lot of Cardano FUD, a lot of Cardano people are just watching other projects rally 200%, 300%, 5x, 6x. Cardano's kind of like in the next
Cardano did the 1000x back in
the 1000x.
The 100x. It depends on when your entry was and
It's a new number.
I was gonna say that's like 1000x, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm saying. Hey, last cycle, man, this thing boomed,
Okay,
bro. It freaking exploded.
But that was last.
I mean,
cycle.
we were
This
at
is
one
this cycle.
penny, 2 pennies, 3 pennies, 5 cents for quite some time, and got well over $2 and traded over $1 for the entirety of the bull market for the most part. It's has a ton of retail interest. And right now,
Where's
I think
the
we're
retail?
both in agreement that that retail is not quite dove back into crypto this bull market. I've seen a couple degens that from last cycle that got in just to buy some meme coins. They're running around talking about, hey, my portfolio is back in the green again. But, you know, we haven't seen that true FOMO from retail, from the waitress, from the plumber, from the mechanic, the average everyday person that they just randomly invest in projects their friends tell them about. That person has not come back into the fray yet. And so when that happens, expect Cardano to absolutely moonshot. I have no doubt that Cardano is going to be one of the best performing layer ones this bull market, at least in the top 30 projects. I think it will outperform a lot of expectations. Now, how high will the price go? I'm not sure. And you know, the Cardano, the thing is I was watching this post he had, right, or his YouTube video, whatever you want to, whichever platform he was on. But I was watching it, and a lot of it, you know, he one thing that made me think was one of the slights to Cardano was the fact that they don't have a top-down fund that's investing in the growth, right? And he was saying like, hey man, you know, all these other projects, you know, they have all these programs, these investor funds, they're trying to build out the community. And so they're just dumping billions of dollars. And he was saying, he's like, man, these dApps are just coming in. They're grabbing money from a fund and they're building something out real quick, or not even building it. And then once the app or dApp is launched, they just leave and go on to the next project. And you know, at the end of the day, this is at the cost of the token price usually, right? They issue out, you know, they have a reserves on the side. They hand those out to devs. The devs end up selling that on the market to fund their projects or to build it out. And it's very interesting to think, hey, Cardano here, they don't have a top-down fund. The IOHK is not handing out billions of dollars for someone just to build on their platform.
But what they're doing though, Robin, IOG, is they're building it themselves.
Yeah, but they do have. He did say that there was a DAO or some kind of DAO fund where the governance can go and vote, and then from there they can decide where to build. And I think there was like $1 billion somewhere in there.
What's your top for Cardano this cycle?
I think $7-8. I think is probably a
Really
good spot. Yeah, I think that puts it a little over 10x. I do believe that where we're seeing congestion from Ethereum, I think we're going to see something similar on Solana. I think that
we kind of are.
Yeah, I think the congestion continues. I think the outage continues, and I think the frustration will grow. And in the same way that we had frustration with the ETH network last bull market, where like, hey man,
no, we still do.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is that what we saw last bull market was people wanted to participate in DeFi. They wanted to use smart contracts. It was part of the ecosystem. Everyone was making NFTs. You know, you had the ERC20s, and so there was a lot of activity on the ETH network, and the fees were astronomical. And so what happened then was things like Binance Smart Chain, the rise of Solana. There you had to go, hey, I don't want to use the ETH network. It's not ideal because of the fees. I'm going to go elsewhere and uprise the competitors. And I think we're going to see the same here in this bull market, because right now what we're seeing is just going to be a tip of the iceberg for transactions and use case and dApps and volume. This, what we're seeing now that's bogging down the networks, is going to be a factor of 10 more, right? And so competitors that don't go down, that have the throughput and scalability, like Cardano, I think will flourish. And, you know, what he was saying with the throughput issue was, hey, you know, there has been times where the network has been slow, but it didn't affect any of the transactions. It didn't affect how the system operated. Just the settlement took a little longer than normal. It was just the settlement token. So I don't know.
I don't think anyone's going to argue Cardano is one of the most decentralized, reliable, scalable projects out there. Even when it had that node degradation, I think of over 50%, this was about a year ago. No one had to step in. No one had to restart the chain. No one had to, it just caught up on its own. So, but listening to people and seeing, and here's the thing, like if you get too caught up in short term, if you're looking for a 10x in 6 months, Cardano is not the project for you. If you are looking to park money into a project that is looking to do big things over a longer period of time, and you're not checking the price every week, every month, Cardano is a great project. It will make you a lot of money. It's just, you know, you cannot be impatient.
At this point, I'd rather have exposure to Cardano versus Ethereum.
Hold on. You're the guy.
You know what?
$10,000, $20,000.
You can change your opinion. Just tell us why.
I am still bullish on Ethereum long term, right? I just think for this bull market, the transaction fees were not addressed, and they're not going to be addressed within the next 1.5 years. And for that reason, the cost of doing business on Ethereum is astronomical at this point. $80 transactions is not acceptable. And if this gets worse, which we're expecting it will, well, a $500 transaction when the rest of the crypto markets are booming is even less acceptable. And so because it's not going to be addressed this bull market, I can't push this as my favorite anymore. I thought that with the roll-ups and the ease of the network through the layer 2s, the scaling solution on the layer 2s, I thought was going to alleviate the network. It did not. I knew that. I never thought that Ethereum was going to be $1 per transaction. I didn't think it was going to be anything weird like that. But to have $70, $80 transactions still as normal right now is not okay.
I swapped for a token yesterday. I was ecstatic when I saw that it was only $30. I'm not even joking. Like, I'm being serious.
Yeah, if it was like $7,
That's still very high.
I know it's still high, but I was just expecting the network to be alleviated, right? I thought the transactions were going to come down to something a little bit more manageable. And, if it was somewhere between $3 and $9, okay, we can have a completely different conversation about how much impact Ethereum is going to have this bull market. But the fact that it's at $70 for a typical transaction at this point in the market, it's just not a sustainable business model.
Can I also throw something else in there? I agree with you. Anytime you want to swap, let's say I buy a meme coin on Ethereum, right? I use ETH, I swap it for the meme. I want to go sell the meme. I have to also pay to approve the token to be used.
Mm-hmm.
That's another $15, $20. It's a shitty system. And let me ask you this question. We'll end the Ethereum talk here. ETH dominance has gotten as high as 22, 23%. We're currently at 15. Will we ever get over 20 again?
No.
I want to know what the chat thinks. Will we ever see Ethereum dominance over 20% again? Put a 1 for yes, put a 2 for no. I'm curious. While you're doing that, I want to give a big shout out to $0 Giro, as he has joined our membership program here on the channel. So thank you for your support, my friend. We appreciate it.
Also, a lot of new people here. So quick shout out. And if this is a last chance for you to get your name read here. So if you're new, say hello. We got Uncle
I don't know.
Candles.
Name read is the right thing.
Yeah, well, whatever. All right. The Middle Journey, Cooler J, Reberside, Small Face No Toe, RC Rex, Truck Dono, KMFA, The Thumbnail Investor, Kevin Peterson, Richard, Hope, K, Patton, Summit, Gary, Crypto Hound, and Kevin P. All of you. Hola! Welcome to Sin City Grid.
Did you hear Ethereum's changing consensus mechanisms? They're going from proof of stake to proof of pain. Said Wick. Wick said that. Funny. You move on chain, it hurts like a kick in the boys.
Hanging out with David too much.
No, you just
jokes are falling flat, bro.
Personality's drier than the bread in my pantry right now. Rock, I am so tired of you.
Everyone says, bread and pantries are really dry,
Yeah. I want to talk about BNB real quick here, Robin. So
that's still a thing. Are people still using it?
Okay. Do you remember when the Avalanche Foundation came out and said they're going to support their meme coin ecosystem by buying 5? Okay. Look at what Binance is doing. Their chain is enticing meme coin developers into a $1 million innovation battle. Competition comes as the meme coin frenzy shows no signs of stopping. Per DeFi Llama, DEX has recorded a transaction volume of $267 billion in March, outpacing November 2021's peak of only $234 billion. And in an announcement dated on April 2nd, BNB Chain said its meme innovation campaign will feature up to $1 million in rewards to empower creativity and encourage developers to build their meme coins natively on BNB. While both experienced and newcomer developers are encouraged to participate, applicants must meet certain qualifications to become eligible.
What qualifications?
Hold on, I'm going to read them to you.
A meme coin. I have a funny meme picture.
Hey, you have to have over 1,000 valid new meme holders.
Oh, wow.
Listen, 1 security audit.
1 audit.
You have to have open sourcing.
Just have your mom look it over.
Developers must also have a total lock liquidity that exceeds 25% for at least half a year and a social media account to be eligible for the campaign.
Yeah. Okay. So you got to have a Twitter account. You got to have one security validator, right? So 1 person. You just got to get your mom to sign your permission switch. Look, you
field trip slip.
Get your mom to fill out the field trip slip. Like we're going to Binance, and then it's such horse crap, bro.
Really?
Yeah, man.
You don't like this idea?
No, it's terrible, bro. Why don't we build? There's so many inefficiencies globally with both finance, technology, data, AI.
They're going where the money's at, bro.
Property rights, NFTs. There's so many opportunities to make a lasting change in this world to remove ourselves from the traditional systems, from analog systems, for options that people don't even have. Like I can't even get if you live in a certain nation, you might not even have an ID. That's a problem. One, you probably don't have a bank account because you don't have an ID. Number two, you can't get any lending because you don't have
memes are making millionaires, bro.
There's so many things you could do as an organization to better the world, and you have the tools in your hand, but yet you want to waste your time and money investing in, well, I hate to say it, Ponzi schemes, more or less, for most of them. And because at the end of the day, the meme coin is exactly that. It's a Ponzi scheme. It's a race. How high can we get this thing up before I can comfortably sell what I have and dump on the rest of the market? And for that reason, shame on you, Binance. Shame on you, Binance Smart Chain. Are you ever going to use Binance Smart Chain for anything other than buying crap tokens?
Also known as the scam chain.
Yeah, but are you ever going to use it? Would you ever, if I said, hey, David, you want to put a sports bet in with Binance Smart Chain?
No.
DApp?
No.
You ever buy an
No.
NFT on Binance Smart Chain?
No, the answer is I do want to give a big shout out, man. The ICP community is just, they're solid. So I posted this yesterday. If you're a fan of ICP and following us, drop an all on the comments and we'll follow you back. And I must have followed like 100 people. And so we did drop an ICP video yesterday.
I was wondering why the entire feed for Twitter
ICP
was nothing but ICP, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening?
ICP, the Cardano community, the Near community, the Solana community. These are all communities. Whenever we put out content on their project, they're always there. They're watching, they're supporting, they're sharing. And so we just want to say we appreciate you guys. So thank you so much. All right. That's all we got for today's show. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and ping your notification bell so you don't miss any of our contents.
Also, shout out to RC Rex, Crypto Dreamer, Nicholas G, Nassar, and Notish. How do you say this in Spanish?
Noticias.
Noticias, yes. Noticias.
Aren't you Portuguese?
Yeah, I can't read.
You can't
Spanish,
read.
though.
Stop there. I can read.
It was a good one, Dave.
I got 4
good
eyes
job,
here,
good job.
so it really helps. BitTensor video will be going out to members first. So if you're a member of the channel, you do get all the alpha before anyone else does. Also, that's all we got. Rocco?
Yeah. Ready? Okay.
That was an Italian tornado. You saw that?
Nah, forget about it.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. We hope you enjoyed the show. Come back tomorrow for an even better show. We got Forrest going to be joining us. We love you guys. Until then,
Sin City Crypto. Everybody know we here for entertainment and info. Gonna show you how to get that big dough. So every day stay tapped in for big facts, no capping. With Bitcoin, if you're in, then you win. We divide the pie with no fraction. It's Big Rob, David. I split the game, but they gave it. Name the coin that's your favorite. I got dry powder, why save it? To the OGs, new beginners. Special shout out to the well members. Buy a dip, sell winners. Ain't really nothing you can tell sinners. Tune in for the latest new flavors. They gonna teach us mean coins. They polarizing like barbecue chicken pizzas. I laugh with a major grin. Laggers, we trade them in. Baddies, they came to sin. And sinners gon' play to win. Screaming, hola, till my bags are flowing over. Hold ya to the moon and to the solar. Won't I? Don't be letting FOMO control ya. It's over when the finger tornado close ya.